She fainted at work. And when doctors revealed her pregnancy, the CEO asked, "Is it my child?" It was Tuesday morning when Megan Collins realized everything was about to change. She'd been staring at the same spreadsheet for 20 minutes when the nausea hit. Not the kind that builds slowly, the kind that slams into you all at once like someone flipped a switch in your stomach. She gripped the edge of her desk, the laminate cool and slightly sticky under her palms. The fluorescent lights overhead hummed their constant, irritating buzz. Someone's lunch was reheating in the break room microwave, the smell of burnt popcorn drifting through the open door. She was 29 years old, a financial assistant at Whitaker Holdings. She lived alone in a one-bedroom walk-up in Logan Square, where the radiator clanked all winter, and the landlord never fixed anything on the first ask. She took the blue line to work every morning, standing because there were never seats, and she'd learned to brace herself against the lurching stops without thinking about it. Her life was small, manageable, hers, until 3 months ago, when Ryan Whitaker started staying late at the office on the same nights she did. At 43, Ryan had built Whitaker Holdings from the ground up. CEO, millionaire, the kind of man who commanded every room he walked into. But lately, he'd been staying later than usual, always on the same nights she worked late too. The room tilted. Megan stood up too fast, her chair rolling backward and hitting the cubicle wall with a dull thud. Her vision went spotty at the edges, like looking through a camera lens smudged with fingerprints. She heard her own breathing, shallow and too loud in her ears. "Megan?" Somewhere to her left, Jason from accounting was half standing, his coffee mug frozen halfway to his mouth. She wanted to tell him she was fine. The words wouldn't come. Her knees gave out. The floor came up fast. Ugly commercial carpet, the kind that never really looked clean no matter how often they vacuumed it. She felt the impact in her shoulder first, then her hip. Voices exploded around her, sharp and panicked, but they sounded far away like she was underwater. "Someone call 911. Is she breathing? Get Ryan." The last thing she registered before everything went black was the elevator chime, 3 short notes, and the sound of expensive shoes on tile moving fast. She woke up to white ceiling tiles and the smell of antiseptic. Hospital. She was in a hospital. The nausea was still there, sitting heavy in her gut, but the dizziness had faded to a dull ache behind her eyes. An IV tugged at her left hand when she tried to move. The curtain around her bed was half drawn, and through the gap she could see a nurse's station, someone typing on a computer with their back turned. "You're awake." Megan's head snapped to the right. Ryan was sitting in the chair beside her bed, elbows on his knees, hands clasped together like he'd been praying. He wasn't in his suit jacket anymore, just the white dress shirt, sleeves rolled up to his forearms, tie loosened. His hair, usually perfectly combed back, was messy, like he'd been running his hands through it. He looked exhausted. "What?" Her voice came out rough, barely more than a whisper. She tried again. "What happened?" "You passed out. At work." He stood up, took a step closer to the bed, then stopped himself, like he wasn't sure if he was allowed. "The ambulance got there in 15 minutes. I rode with you." "You didn't have to." "Yeah, I did." The way he said it made her chest tighten, not with fear, with something worse. Hope. She looked away, focusing on the IV bag instead. Clear liquid dripping slowly into the tube. Saline, probably. Her mouth was dry. "How long have I been here?" "Couple hours. They ran some tests." He hesitated. "Megan, the doctor's gonna come talk to you in a minute. He stopped, swallowed hard. "I needed to make sure you were okay first." She wanted to tell him he didn't need to do that he didn't owe her anything beyond what happened after hours, in the dark, when they pretended the rest of the world didn't exist. But the words stuck in her throat, same as always, because the truth was, she'd been in love with him for months, and he had no idea. The curtain scraped open on its metal rings, too loud in the quiet room. A doctor stepped in, young, maybe early 30s, with a tablet in one hand, and the kind of expression that said she'd delivered bad news before and knew how to do it gently. "Ms. Collins, I'm Dr. Patel." She glanced at Ryan, then back at Megan. "Is it okay if we talk with him here? Or would you prefer privacy?" Megan's heart started pounding. It's fine. He can stay. Ryan moved closer to the bed, not touching her, but close enough that she could smell his cologne, something woody and clean that she'd memorized without meaning to. Dr. Patel pulled up the chair Ryan had just vacated and sat down, setting the tablet on her lap. Your blood work came back. Everything looks normal overall, with no anemia, no major deficiencies, but we did find something. The room went very still. You're pregnant. About 8 weeks, based on your hormone levels. Megan stopped breathing. 8 weeks. She did the math automatically, her brain working on autopilot even as the rest of her froze. 8 weeks ago. That night, after the quarterly review, when she'd stayed late to finish the reports and Ryan had knocked on her office door with 2 glasses of whiskey and a smile that made her forget why this was a bad idea, she hadn't thought. She'd been careful. They'd been careful. Apparently, not careful enough. The word came out broken. She tried again. I didn't know. It's common not to realize right away, especially if your cycles are irregular. Dr. Patel's voice was calm, professional. The fainting was likely related. Low blood sugar, dehydration, the stress on your system. You'll need to start prenatal vitamins, schedule an OB appointment, and... Is it mine? Megan's head snapped toward Ryan so fast her neck cracked. He was staring at her, his face pale, his eyes wide with something that looked like panic, or fear, or both. Is it? He stopped. His jaw worked. Is the baby mine? The question hit her like a slap, not because he didn't have the right to ask, but because of the way he asked it, like he wasn't sure, like there was a possibility she'd been with someone else, like the last 3 months of sneaking around, of late nights in his car parked 2 blocks from her apartment, of whispered confessions in the dark, hadn't meant what she thought they meant. Dr. Patel cleared her throat quietly. I'll give you 2 a moment. She stood, tucking the tablet under her arm, and slipped out through the curtain. The silence that followed was suffocating. Megan couldn't look at him. She focused on her hands instead, pale against the white hospital blanket, the IV taped to her skin. Her throat burned. Yeah, she said finally. Her voice came out flat, empty. It's yours. Ryan exhaled, a shaky sound that might have been relief. Okay, He ran a hand through his hair again. I needed to know. She nodded, didn't trust herself to say anything else. Megan, I'm tired. It wasn't a lie. Exhaustion was settling into her bones, heavy and cold. I need to rest. He stood there for another few seconds, his hands hanging uselessly at his sides. Then he nodded once, sharp and awkward, and turned toward the curtain. I'll be outside if you need anything. She didn't answer. The curtain scraped shut. Megan closed her eyes and tried very hard not to cry. By the time they discharged her that evening, the sky over Chicago had gone grey and heavy with the promise of rain. Ryan had insisted on driving her home, not asked, insisted, and she was too tired to argue. They rode in silence, the Tesla gliding smoothly down Lakeshore Drive while the city lights blurred past the windows. Her apartment building looked smaller than usual when they pulled up. Older. The brick facade was crumbling in places, and someone had left a trash bag by the front steps that nobody'd bothered to move. Ryan put the car in park, but didn't turn off the engine. You need help getting upstairs? I'm fine. He nodded. His hands stayed on the steering wheel, knuckles white. Megan reached for the door handle, stopped. Ryan. Yeah? She didn't look at him, couldn't. When you asked if the baby was yours, her voice cracked. She forced herself to keep going. Did you really think there was someone else? The silence stretched out so long, she thought he wasn't going to answer. No, he said finally. Quiet. I didn't think that. Then why'd you ask? Another pause. Longer this time. Because I was scared. She turned to look at him then. His jaw was tight, his eyes fixed straight ahead through the windshield. Of what? He shook his head. Everything. The rain started, fat drops hitting the windshield, slow at first, then faster. The wipers kicked on automatically, sweeping back and forth with a rhythmic squeak. Megan opened the door. The cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of wet asphalt. "Thanks for the ride." She was halfway out of the car when his voice stopped her. "Megan, wait." She didn't. The building door was old and stuck in the humidity. She had to yank it twice before it opened. By the time she made it inside, she was shaking, from the cold, from exhaustion, from everything she'd been holding back for the last 8 hours. The stairs to her apartment felt like climbing a mountain. When she finally got the door unlocked and stumbled inside, she didn't bother turning on the lights, just kicked off her shoes, dropped her purse on the kitchen counter, and sank onto the couch. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out. One new message. Ryan. She stared at the notification for a long time. Didn't open it. Outside, the rain kept falling. The radiator clanked to life. Megan set the phone face down on the coffee table and closed her eyes. Megan didn't open Ryan's message until the next morning. She'd spent the night on the couch, too exhausted to move, listening to the rain hammer against the windows and the couple upstairs argue about something she couldn't quite make out. Around 3 a.m., someone's car alarm went off and stayed on for 20 minutes before finally shutting up. She'd given up on sleep after that. The message was short. "I'm sorry. We should talk." She stared at it for a long time, her thumb hovering over the keyboard. Started typing a response 3 times, deleted it 3 times. Finally just locked her phone and set it down. What was there to say? The coffee maker gurgled in the kitchen, the only sound in the apartment besides the hum of the refrigerator that never quite shut off. She'd bought the cheapest brand at Jewel Osco last week, and it tasted like it. Bitter and burnt, even with the creamer she'd added. She drank it anyway. Her reflection in the bathroom mirror looked like hell. Dark circles under her eyes, hair tangled, the same t-shirt she'd slept in sticking to her skin. She turned on the shower and waited for the water to heat up. It took forever in this building. The pipes rattled and groaned, and when the hot water finally came, it came too hot, scalding, before she could adjust it. 8 weeks pregnant. The words still didn't feel real. She pressed her palm against her stomach, flat, unchanged, giving nothing away. In a few months that would be different. Everyone would know. Everyone at the office would look at her and do the math, put together the pieces, figure out exactly who the father was. The CEO's assistant, pregnant with the CEO's baby. She could already hear the whispers. She called in sick. It wasn't a lie. The nausea was back, worse than yesterday. And the thought of sitting at her desk under those fluorescent lights, pretending everything was normal, made her want to crawl back into bed and stay there. Her phone buzzed around 10. Ryan again. "Are you okay? You're not at work." She typed back. "Sick." Doctor said to rest. 3 dots appeared immediately, disappeared, appeared again. "Can I bring you anything?" "I'm fine." Megan. She set the phone down and turned on the TV. Some morning talk show, too bright and loud, the hosts laughing about something that probably wasn't that funny. She left it on for the noise. The knock on her door came an hour later. She knew it was him before she even looked through the peephole. Something about the way he knocked, firm but not aggressive, like he was trying not to scare her but needed her to hear it. Megan stood on the other side of the door for a good 30 seconds, debating. Then she unlocked it. Ryan stood in the hallway holding a paper bag from the diner 2 blocks over, the one that was open 24 hours and had the best hash browns in Logan Square. He was wearing jeans. She'd never seen him in jeans before, and a dark grey sweater that made him look younger, less like a CEO and more like someone she might have met anywhere else. "You said you were fine," he said. "I am. You also didn't eat anything yesterday, at the hospital." He held up the bag. Scrambled eggs, toast, nothing too heavy. She should have told him to leave, should have closed the door, locked it, gone back to the couch and ignored him until he gave up. Instead, she stepped aside. He came in slowly, like he was entering a place he wasn't sure he belonged. She watched him take in the apartment. The worn couch with the throw blanket she'd gotten at Target, the stack of books on the coffee table she kept meaning to read, the kitchen that barely fit 1 person, let alone 2. It was small, cramped, nothing like the penthouse he probably lived in. She crossed her arms. You didn't have to come here. I know. He set the bag on the counter. But I did anyway. Ryan, just eat, okay? Please. The please got her. She sat at the tiny kitchen table, the one that wobbled if you leaned too hard on one side, and opened the bag. The smell hit her immediately. Butter, eggs, grease. Her stomach growled before she could stop it. Ryan stayed standing, leaning against the counter with his hands in his pockets, watching her like he was afraid she might disappear. You look tired, she said. Didn't sleep much. Yeah, me neither. She took a bite of toast. It was still warm, soft in the middle, exactly the way she liked it, even though she'd never told him that. The eggs were good too, fluffy, seasoned right with just enough cheese. They sat in silence while she ate. Not comfortable silence, the kind where both people are trying to figure out what to say and coming up empty. Finally, Ryan spoke. I shouldn't have asked that question at the hospital. His voice was quiet, rough around the edges. It was stupid, and it hurt you. I know it did. Megan set down her fork. Yeah, it did. I wasn't thinking, I just... He stopped, ran a hand over his face. Everything hit me at once, and I panicked. You think I didn't panic? I know you did. He met her eyes. And you were alone, because I made it worse. She looked away, the radiator clanked, filling the silence. What are you scared of? She asked. You said you were scared of everything. What does that mean? Ryan was quiet for a long time. When he finally answered, his voice was barely above a whisper. That I'm going to screw this up. That I already am. He exhaled slowly. That you're going to look at me one day and realize this was a mistake, that I'm... He stopped himself. That you're what? That I'm not enough. The words hung between them, heavy and raw. Megan stared at him. This man who ran a company, who made decisions worth millions, who walked into every room like he owned it. And here he was, standing in her cramped kitchen, looking like he might fall apart. You think you're not enough? She almost laughed, almost. Ryan, you're a millionaire. You have a penthouse and a Tesla, and a life that people dream about. She gestured around the apartment. I'm nobody. I take the L to work every day, and my heat doesn't work half the time, and you think you're not enough. That's not what I mean. Then what do you mean? He pushed off the counter, took a step closer, then stopped himself again, like he was afraid to get too close. I mean, I don't know how to do this, any of this. He swallowed hard. I've spent my whole life building something, being in control, knowing exactly what comes next. And now, he shook his head. Now I'm terrified because I don't know what I'm doing, and the one person I want to figure it out with won't even look at me. Megan's throat tightened. You're the one who pulled away, she said. At the hospital after, you barely said anything in the car. I know. So don't act like I'm the one creating distance. You're right. He took another step. Closer now. Close enough that she could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the stubble on his jaw he hadn't bothered to shave. You're absolutely right, and I'm sorry. She wanted to stay angry, wanted to hold on to it, use it like armor. But the fight was draining out of her, replaced by something heavier. Exhaustion, loneliness, fear. I don't know what we're doing either, she admitted. Her voice came out small. I don't know what this is, what we are. Ryan moved closer, not touching her yet, but close enough that she could feel the heat coming off him. What do you want it to be? The question caught her off guard. I don't... She stopped, started over. I don't know if it matters what I want. It matters to me. Why? The word came out sharper than she meant it. Because I'm pregnant? Because now you have to care? No. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his hand closed around hers. Warm, steady. Because I already did. Her breath caught. Ryan, I'm not good at this, he said. Talking about feelings, being vulnerable, any of it. I spent so long keeping everything locked down that I forgot how to let anyone in. His thumb brushed over her knuckles. But you got in anyway, months ago, before any of this. Megan looked down at their hands. His was bigger, rougher, the kind of hand that signed contracts and made deals. Hers was small, pale, fingers still cold from not eating enough. You never said anything, she whispered. Neither did you. Fair point. She pulled her hand back, not because she wanted to, but because she needed space to think, to breathe. This is complicated, she said, I know. People are going to talk, at work, everywhere. Let them. Easy for you to say, you're the CEO, She stopped. I'm just the assistant who got pregnant. Ryan's jaw tightened. Don't do that. Do what? Make yourself smaller than you are. He stepped closer again, didn't touch her this time, but held her gaze. You're not just anything, and anyone who thinks otherwise can go to hell. Despite everything, despite the fear and the exhaustion and the uncertainty sitting like a weight on her chest, Megan felt her lips twitch. That's very romantic. I'm serious. I know you are. That's what makes it funny. For the first time since the hospital, something in Ryan's expression softened. Not quite a smile, but close. So what now? He asked. Megan sank back into the chair. The wobble was worse today. She made a mental note to fix it. Again. I don't know, she said honestly. I need time to think, to figure out what I want. Okay. You're not going to push? No. He picked up his keys from the counter. But I'm not going anywhere either. When you're ready to talk, really talk, I'll be here. He headed for the door. His hand was on the knob when she spoke again. Ryan, he turned. Thank you for the food. Something flickered in his eyes. Relief, maybe. Or hope. Any time. The door closed softly behind him. Megan sat alone in the kitchen, the half-eaten breakfast cooling in front of her, the apartment settling back into silence. Her phone buzzed on the table. She picked it up. I meant what I said. All of it. She read it twice, then set the phone down without responding. Outside, a garbage truck rumbled past. Someone was yelling in Russian 2 floors down. The sink dripped. She'd been meaning to fix that for weeks. Megan pressed her hand against her stomach again. 8 weeks. The words still didn't feel real, but maybe, just maybe, they were starting to. Megan went back to work on Thursday. She'd put it off as long as she could. 2 days trying to figure out what the hell she was supposed to do next. But the rent was due in a week, and she couldn't afford to burn through sick days. Later, when she was showing. When people started asking questions. The blue line was packed during rush hour, bodies pressed together, the smell of coffee and breakfast sandwiches filling the air. The train lurched at Damen, and she stumbled into the guy next to her. My bad, she muttered. He didn't acknowledge her. By the time she made it downtown, her shirt was sticking to her back. The elevator ride to the 15th floor felt longer than usual. Megan! Jason from accounting, coffee in hand, concerned expression in place. Hey, you feeling better? Yeah, much better. That was scary as hell. You sure you should be back? Doctor cleared me. I'm good. Ryan was freaking out, though. Never seen him move that fast. Megan forced a smile. He's a good boss. Well, I'm around if you need anything. She sank into her chair. The office hummed around her, keyboards clicking, phones ringing. Normal. Everything was supposed to be normal, except nothing felt normal anymore. Her email loaded. 237 unread messages. Halfway down, one stopped her. While you were out from Ryan, I handled the quarterly reports. Focus on what you need to focus on. Let me know if you need anything. She closed it without responding. The break room was empty at lunch. She'd packed a turkey sandwich. It tasted like cardboard. The door opened. Ryan stepped in, stopped when he saw her, then closed the door. Hey. He poured coffee he didn't want, just needed something to do with his hands. How are you feeling? Fine. Megan. I said I'm fine, Ryan. He turned, leaning against the counter, navy suit, no tie. The fluorescent lights made him look tired. We can't keep avoiding this. I'm not avoiding anything, I'm at work. You know what I mean. She did. She just didn't want to talk about it here. This isn't the place. Then where? You won't answer my calls. Because I need space. Space to do what? Pretend this isn't happening. The words stung because they were true. Megan stood. I have to get back to work. Wait. He moved toward her, then stopped. Can we at least talk? Tonight? I don't, please. She sighed. Fine. The coffee shop on Clark, near the Brown Line. Okay. Relief flooded his face. What time? 7. I'll be there. Around 4, Ryan appeared at her cubicle. You mind coming to my office? There's something we need to go over. She followed him. His office was at the end, corner view, floor-to-ceiling windows. She'd been here 100 times. It never got less intimidating. He closed the door. Ryan, what? Relax. Sit. She sat. He leaned against the desk. I wanted to talk before tonight about work. Okay. People are going to notice eventually. The pregnancy. He said it carefully. There's going to be questions. I know. I don't want you to feel pressured, but we need to figure out how we're handling this professionally. Are you asking me to quit? What? No. He looked shocked. I'm asking what you want to do. If you want to keep working here, we figure it out. If you want to transfer, I'll make it happen. Whatever you want, I'll support it. Just like that? Just like that. Ryan moved to the window, staring out. I know this is complicated, but I'm trying, Megan. I'm trying to do the right thing, and I don't know what that is, so you're gonna have to tell me. What do you think the right thing is? He turned. Honestly? Telling everyone the truth. That we're together, that the baby's mine, that I care about you. A lot. Her heart pounded. You're the CEO, Ryan. I'm your assistant. You really think people are going to be okay with that? I don't care what people think. Well, I do, because I'm the one they're going to whisper about. Ryan closed the distance in 2 steps. Then we prove them wrong. How? He took her hand. His palm was warm, grounding. By not hiding. By being honest. She should pull away. Anyone could see through the glass. She didn't. I'm scared, she admitted. Me too. What if this doesn't work? What if it does? Someone knocked. They sprang apart. Ryan cleared his throat. Come in. Jason poked his head in. Got those numbers. Right, thanks. Ryan took the folder. Anything else? Nope. See you tomorrow. The door closed. That was close, she said. Yeah. 7 o'clock, Ryan said. The coffee shop. I'll be there. She headed for the door. Her hand on the handle, she stopped. Ryan. Yeah? For what it's worth, I care about you too. She walked out. By 6:30, Megan was exhausted. She took the Brown Line to Clark. The coffee shop was a few blocks away. Mismatched furniture, unknown art on the walls. The coffee was too strong, but it was quiet. She ordered decaf. Couldn't do caffeine anymore. Ryan wasn't there yet. She picked a table in the back corner. Her phone buzzed. Running 5 minutes late. Sorry. It's fine. Outside, the sky turned purple, streetlights flickering on. The door chimed. Ryan walked in, spotted her immediately. Still in his suit minus the jacket. Sleeves rolled up. He looked nervous. He sat down. Hey. Silence. So we should talk. Ryan leaned forward. Yeah. I don't know how to do this, any of it, the baby, us. I've never been good at being vulnerable. Neither have I. Then we're both screwed. Ryan smiled. Maybe. I meant what I said earlier. I do care about you. More than I should, probably. Why more than you should? Because you're my boss. Because we're in completely different worlds. Because this whole thing is messy. And none of that matters, Ryan interrupted. Not to me. It matters to other people. Screw other people. He reached across the table, covered her hand. I know this is hard, but I don't care what people think. I care about you. And I care about this baby. If that means dealing with some judgment, then fine. She'll deal with it. Her throat tightened. You make it sound so simple. It is simple. We just make it complicated. Ryan, I love you. The words hit her physically. She stared. What? I love you. I have for a while. I just didn't know how to say it. Her heart hammered. You can't just... I'm not asking you to say it back. I'm just telling you the truth, because I'm tired of hiding it. Megan didn't know what to say. Ryan stood. I should go, let you think. Wait, but he was already at the door. He stopped, looked back. When you figure out what you want, let me know. Then he was gone. Megan sat alone, her coffee going cold. Outside, the streetlights hummed. Someone dropped a cup. It shattered. She didn't move. Megan didn't go home right away. She sat in that coffee shop for another hour, watching the cup in front of her go from warm to cold to room temperature. The barista kept glancing over, probably wondering if she was okay, but didn't say anything. The art on the walls, some abstract thing with too much red, started to blur after a while. I love you. The words kept playing on repeat in her head. She'd wanted to hear them. For months she'd wanted him to say something, anything, that proved this wasn't just convenient for him, that she wasn't just the girl who stayed late at the office and made it easy for him to feel less alone. But now that he'd said it, she didn't know what to do with it. Around 8:30, the barista started wiping down tables. Megan took the hint. She grabbed her bag and walked out into the cold. The November air bit at her face. She should have worn a heavier coat. The one she had was from Target 2 years ago, and the zipper stuck halfway up. She walked toward the Brown Line station, then kept walking past it. She wasn't ready to go home yet. Wasn't ready to sit in that apartment with the broken radiator and think about everything she was too scared to want. Her phone buzzed. She didn't check it. The streets were quieter now, the dinner rush over, most people already home or settled into bars for the night. She passed a Thai place that smelled like lemongrass and peanut sauce, a laundromat with its lights still on, someone folding clothes in the window, a liquor store with a neon sign that flickered every few seconds. She ended up at the 606, the elevated trail that cut through the neighborhoods. It was dark up there, just a few scattered lights along the path, and the glow from the city below. She could see into apartment windows from here, people cooking dinner, watching TV, living their normal lives. She wondered what normal was supposed to feel like. Her phone buzzed again. This time she looked. 3 messages. All from Ryan. I shouldn't have left like that. Can we talk? Please. She typed, "Not tonight." His response came immediately. "Tomorrow?" She stared at the screen. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Finally. "Okay." She put her phone away and kept walking. She didn't sleep. By the time 6 a.m. rolled around, she'd given up pretending. She made coffee, the terrible kind that tasted like burnt water, and stood at the kitchen window watching the sky turn from black to gray to that pale blue that meant morning, whether you were ready for it or not. She called in sick again. Jason texted around 9, "You okay? That's 2 days this week. Just need rest. Doctor's orders." It wasn't entirely a lie. The doctor had said to take it easy. Stress wasn't good for the baby, and right now the thought of sitting at her desk, pretending everything was fine while Ryan was 30 feet away in his corner office, made her want to crawl back into bed. She spent the morning cleaning instead, scrubbed the bathroom until the grout was white again, organized the closet. Washed the dishes that had been piling up in the sink. Around noon she ran out of things to clean. Her phone sat on the counter, screen dark. She picked it up, put it down, picked it up again, opened her messages. Ryan hadn't texted since last night. She scrolled up through their conversation, months of it going back to when this started. Late-night messages that started professional and slowly became something else. "You still at the office?" "Yeah." "You? Always." "You should go home." "So should you." "In a minute." She remembered that night. He'd shown up at her desk with 2 glasses of whiskey and that smile that made her forget why this was a bad idea. They'd ended up in his office, talking until 2 a.m. about everything except work. That was the night she realized she was in trouble. She locked her phone and set it face down. The knock on her door came around 1. She knew it was him before she opened it. Something about the way he knocked, familiar now, after all this time. Ryan stood in the hallway holding a paper bag, not from the diner this time. From that overpriced place in Wicker Park that made everything from scratch. "You're not at work," he said. "Neither are you." Took the afternoon off. He held up the bag. Brought lunch. Real lunch. Not hospital cafeteria food. Despite everything, she almost smiled. "You didn't have to do that." "I know. Can I come in?" She stepped aside. He walked past her into the apartment, and she was suddenly aware of how small everything looked when he was in it. He took up space without trying to, not in a bad way, just in a way that made her realize how much of her life she'd been living alone. "Sit," she said. "I'll get plates." "You don't have to—" "Ryan, sit." He sat. She pulled out the mismatched plates she'd gotten at a thrift store in Pilsen, the ones with the faded floral pattern that probably belonged to someone's grandmother once, set them on the table that still wobbled. Ryan unpacked the bag: grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, some kind of grain salad that looked too fancy for a Thursday afternoon. They ate in silence for a few minutes. The food was good, better than anything she usually made for herself. She was halfway through when Ryan finally spoke. "I'm sorry about last night." She set down her fork. "Which part?" "All of it. Dropping that on you and then walking out. That was—" He stopped. "That wasn't fair." "No, it wasn't. I panicked. I said what I wanted to say, and then I didn't know what to do next, so I just left." Megan pushed the grain salad around on her plate. "You do that a lot. Leave when things get hard." "I know." He met her eyes. "I'm working on it." "Are you?" "I'm here, aren't I?" "Fair point." She took a breath. "When you said you loved me, I meant it." "Let me finish." She set down her fork. "When you said that, I didn't know what to say, because part of me has wanted to hear it for months, and part of me was terrified of it." "Why terrified?" "Because what if you change your mind?" The words came out faster now, like a dam breaking. "What if you wake up one day and realize this is too messy, too complicated, too much? What if—" Her voice cracked. "What if I'm not enough?" Ryan stood up so fast his chair scraped against the floor. He was around the table in 2 steps, kneeling in front of her chair. "Look at me," he said. She did. His eyes were so close she could see the exhaustion in them, the worry, the something else she was afraid to name. "You are enough," he said. "You've always been enough, and I'm not going anywhere." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." He took her hands. "Megan, I've spent most of my life keeping people at a distance, building walls, telling myself it was easier that way. And then you walked into my office 3 years ago with coffee stains on your shirt and this look on your face like you were ready to fight anyone who got in your way. And I—" He stopped, swallowed. "I knew. Even then. I knew you were going to be the one who made all those walls come down." Her throat was tight. "Ryan, I'm not perfect. I'm going to mess up. I'm going to say the wrong thing and shut down when I shouldn't, and probably make this harder than it needs to be. But I'm not leaving, not unless you tell me to." A tear slipped down her cheek before she could stop it. Then another. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I know. Me too. What if we can't do this? What if we can?" She let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. "You keep saying that." "Because I believe it." He brushed the tears off her cheek with his thumb. "Do you?" Did she? She thought about the last 3 months, the late nights in his office, the conversations that went deeper than they should have, the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching, the way her heart jumped every time her phone buzzed and it was him. She thought about the future, the baby growing inside her that she still couldn't quite believe was real, the questions people would ask, the judgment, the whispers. And then she thought about what it would feel like to do all of that alone. "I don't want to be scared anymore," she said finally. "Then don't be. It's not that simple." "Yes, it is." He squeezed her hands gently. "We just decide, right now, together, that we're gonna do this, whatever it looks like, however messy it gets." Just like that, just like that. She looked down at their hands. His were steady, hers were shaking. "I love you too," she said, quiet, but sure. Ryan went very still. "What?" "I love you," louder this time. "I have for a while. I just didn't think I was allowed to." "Why not?" "Because you're you and I'm me and—" He kissed her. It wasn't slow or careful or tentative. It was desperate and messy and real. His hands cupped her face and she grabbed onto his shirt like she was drowning, and he was the only thing keeping her above water. When they finally broke apart, both of them breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. "You're allowed," he said. "You've always been allowed," she laughed. It came out wet and shaky. "Okay." "Okay?" "Yeah, okay." She pulled back just enough to see his face. "We're doing this." "We're doing this," he repeated, like he needed to hear it out loud to believe it. They stayed like that for a long moment, neither of them moving, both of them holding onto this fragile, terrifying, perfect thing they'd just decided to build together. Finally, Ryan stood up, pulling her with him. "Come here," he said. He led her to the couch, the worn one with the throw blanket from Target, and sat down, pulling her down beside him. She curled into his side, and his arm came around her shoulders like it belonged there. They sat in silence, not the uncomfortable kind, the kind where words weren't necessary because everything that mattered had already been said. Outside, a siren wailed, the radiator clanked, someone was yelling in Russian again. Megan closed her eyes and let herself breathe. They spent the rest of the afternoon like that, talking sometimes, silent others. Ryan told her about growing up in Connecticut, the pressure his father put on him to take over the family business, the years he spent trying to prove he was more than just a name. She told him about her mom, who'd raised her alone and worked 3 jobs to keep them afloat, who died 2 years ago and left a hole Megan still didn't know how to fill. "She would have liked you," Megan said. "Yeah? Yeah. She always said I needed someone who'd challenge me, who wouldn't let me hide." Ryan pressed a kiss to the top of her head. Smart woman. She was. The light outside shifted from afternoon to evening, gold to orange to that deep purple that meant night was coming. "I should go," Ryan said eventually. "Let you rest." Megan sat up, already missing the warmth of him beside her. "Okay." He stood, grabbed his keys from the counter, stopped at the door. "Tomorrow," he said, "we tell people. At work. Everyone." Her stomach flipped. "Tomorrow? If you're ready. If not, we wait." "But Megan..." He turned to face her. "I don't want to hide anymore. I'm tired of pretending this isn't real." She thought about it, about walking into that office and everyone knowing, about the whispers and the judgment and all the reasons this was terrifying. Then she thought about him, about the way he looked at her like she was the only person in the room, about the future they were about to build, messy and complicated and theirs. "Okay," she said. "Tomorrow." Relief flooded his face. "Yeah?" "Yeah." He crossed the room in 3 steps and kissed her again. Softer this time, a promise. "I'll pick you up in the morning, Nat," he said. "We'll go in together." "Ryan, I know, that's the point." She nodded. "Okay. Get some sleep." "You too." He left. The door closed softly behind him. Megan stood in the middle of her apartment in the quiet, with the streetlight starting to flicker on outside. She pressed her hand against her stomach. "Well," she said to the baby that couldn't hear her yet, "I guess we're doing this." Her phone buzzed. "I love you," she typed back. "I love you too." Then she turned off all the lights and went to bed. For the first time in weeks, she slept. Megan woke up to her alarm for the first time in days. 6 a.m. The room was dark, the streetlight casting orange shadows. She lay there listening to the city wake up, garbage trucks rumbling, the radiator hissing. Today was the day. Her stomach twisted from nerves. She wanted to pull the covers over her head and pretend she'd never agreed to this, but she had agreed. And Ryan was picking her up in an hour. She showered, got dressed carefully, black pants, burgundy sweater, boots, put on more makeup than usual. Her hands shook while she did her eyeliner. Her phone buzzed at 7:15 downstairs. Ryan was waiting by his car, breath fogging in the cold, charcoal suit, burgundy tie that almost matched her sweater. When he saw her, his face softened. "Hey," he said. "Hey." The warm car smelled like leather and his cologne, familiar, comforting. Ryan got in, didn't start the car right away. "You sure you want to do this?" he asked. "I'm ready." She took his hand. "I'm terrified, but I'm ready." He squeezed her hand. "Okay." When they pulled into the parking garage, neither of them moved for a moment. "Last chance," he said. "Let's go." They took the elevator up together. The doors opened. The office was half full. A few heads turned when they walked in together. Jason did a double take at the coffee maker. Ryan's hand found the small of her back. Steady. Megan. She turned. Ryan was standing there, resolve clear. "Come to my office," he said, loud enough for people to hear. "There's something we need to discuss, with everyone." By the time they reached his office, half the floor was watching. "You want me to call a meeting?" he asked. "Do we have to? The rumors will spread faster than the truth otherwise." "Okay, call it." He pulled out his phone. Within seconds, her phone buzzed. "Emergency all-hands meeting. 10 minutes. They spent those 10 minutes in silence. Ryan paced. Megan tried to breathe. Through the glass, people gathered in the conference room, confused, whispering. "Time," Ryan said. Everyone went quiet when they entered. 23 people crammed into the conference room. Ryan closed the door. "Thanks for coming," he started. Professional, steady. "I'll make this quick. Megan and I have been seeing each other for the past few months. We kept it private, but that changes today." The room was silent. "She's pregnant," Ryan continued. "The baby is mine. Before anyone asks, no, this wasn't planned. No, she didn't use her position to manipulate anything. And no, I'm not apologizing." Someone shifted uncomfortably. "We're handling this transparently. Megan will transfer to a different department. We're working with HR, but I wanted you to hear it from us first." He paused. "I know some of you might have questions. My office is open, but if I hear anyone treating Megan disrespectfully, we're gonna have a problem. She's my partner. She's carrying my child. She deserves respect. Are we clear?" A few people nodded. "That's all, thanks." People filed out, some glancing at Megan. Jason stopped. "Megan." She looked up. "Congratulations," he said. He smiled. "Thanks." When the room cleared, Ryan sank into the chair beside her. "That went better than expected." "Did it?" Nobody threw anything. She laughed. "Low bar." "You meant that?" she asked. "About me being your partner?" "Every word." Ryan took her hand. "I don't know how to do this either, but we're going to figure it out. Together. What if we mess it up? Then we fix it. Simple. I'm not expecting perfect, just us trying." "Okay," she said. "Yeah?" "Yeah." Ryan stood, pulling her up. "Come on, let's get out of here. It's barely 9. I'm the CEO. I can leave whenever I want." They made it to the elevator before someone called out, "Ryan?" Mitchell, a senior partner, walking toward them. Ryan's hand tightened on hers. "Mitchell." "A word?" Ryan didn't let go of Megan's hand. "Anything you say, you can say in front of her." Mitchell glanced between them. "The board will want to discuss this. I've already spoken to HR and legal. Everything's handled. Ryan, you know how this looks? Is being addressed. Megan's transferring. No reporting relationship, and the pregnancy is none of the board's business. Ryan, Mitchell, I've given this company 15 years. I've tripled revenue. I'm not apologizing for my personal life. If the board has a problem, they can bring it up later. Right now, I'm taking my partner home." Mitchell stared at him, then smiled. "Good for you. It's about time. Congratulations. Both of you." He walked away. Megan exhaled. "That was unexpected." "Yeah." In the elevator, Ryan pulled her close. She rested her head against his chest. "We did it," she said. "Yeah." "What happens now?" "Now we figure it out together." They spent the day at his place, penthouse in Streeterville, floor-to-ceiling windows, lake view, but warmer than she expected. Lived in, books on the coffee table, blanket on the couch. "It's nice," she said. "It's too big. Maybe that'll change." They ordered Thai food, talked about baby names, doctor's appointments, the future. "I want to be involved," Ryan said. "In all of it. You don't have to." "I want to. I know I screwed up at the beginning, but I'm here now, for all of it." She took his hand. "Okay." They fell asleep on the couch in the afternoon sun. When Megan woke up, Ryan's arm was around her. For the first time in weeks, she felt safe. Her phone buzzed, text from Jason, "Happy for you guys." Then another. And another. People checking in, offering support. Not everyone, but enough. That was something. That night, lying in bed, Megan couldn't sleep. Ryan was already asleep beside her. She watched him, pressed her hand against her stomach. "Hey," Ryan mumbled. "You okay?" "Yeah, just thinking." He wrapped an arm around her. "About what?" "Everything. Us. The baby." "Having second thoughts?" "No." Without hesitation. "Are you?" "Not even a little bit." She turned to face him. "I love you." "I love you too." They stayed like that, wrapped up in each other, and for the first time in a long time, everything felt like it might actually be okay. Morning came golden. Megan woke to sunlight and coffee smell. Ryan was in the kitchen, already dressed. "Morning." "Morning." She wrapped the blanket tighter. "What time is it?" "7, made you decaf." "Toast, eggs." They ate together. When they were done, Ryan checked his watch. "I should go. Meeting at 9. He kissed her before leaving. "Call me later." "I will." "I love you." "I love you too." The door closed. Megan stood in his apartment and breathed. Outside, the city was waking up. But for her, everything had changed. She picked up her phone, typed, "Thank you for everything." His response came immediately, always. She smiled. Then she started getting ready to face whatever came next. 6 months later, the apartment in Lincoln Park had better water pressure. That was the first thing Megan noticed when they moved in. The second was the windows, huge, facing east, letting in so much morning light she didn't need an alarm anymore. The third was the silence. No yelling neighbors, no rattling radiator, no car alarms at 3 a.m. It was unsettling at first, too quiet, too clean, too much like the life she'd never let herself imagine. But she was getting used to it. She stood in the nursery now, 8 months pregnant, one hand on her lower back, the other pressed against the wall they'd just painted. Soft grey, not blue, not pink. They'd decided to wait to find out the gender. Ryan wanted to be surprised. Megan just wanted to make it to the delivery without having a panic attack. "You okay?" She turned. Ryan was in the doorway, paint-splattered t-shirt, hair messy, that soft expression he got whenever he looked at her these days. "Yeah, just tired. You should sit down. You've been on your feet all morning. I'm pregnant, not dying." "I know, but—" He crossed the room, wrapped his arms around her from behind, hands settling on her belly. "You're also carrying my kid, so humor me." She leaned back against him. The baby kicked, a firm jab against her ribs. Ryan felt it and laughed. "Was that—" "Yep. Little one's got strong legs. Takes after you. I'm not that athletic. You walk 3 miles to the L every day. Walked, past tense. Now I work from home and waddle to the bathroom every 20 minutes. Ryan pressed a kiss to her temple. "You're beautiful when you waddle." "Liar. I'm serious." She turned in his arms, which was harder now with the belly between them. Looked up at him. He had paint on his cheek. She reached up and wiped it off with her thumb. "We're really doing this," she said. "Yeah, we really are." "You scared?" "Terrified." He said it easily, like it was just a fact. "You. Every single day." "Good, we can be terrified together." She smiled. "That's your solution to everything." It's worked so far. He wasn't wrong. The last 6 months had been a blur. Moving in together, getting adjusted to sharing space with someone after years of living alone, the endless doctor's appointments, the comments at work that stopped being whispers and started being actual conversations. The slow, careful process of building something real. It wasn't perfect. They fought sometimes. Megan still shut down when things got too intense. Ryan still worked too much, but they showed up. Every day for each other. That was something. "Come on," Ryan said. "Let's take a break. I'll make you lunch." "You mean you'll order lunch?" Same thing. They moved to the living room, bigger than her entire old apartment, filled with furniture they'd picked out together. Well, mostly together. Megan had opinions about throw pillows. Ryan had learned to just agree. She sank onto the couch with a grateful sigh. Her back had been killing her for days. The doctor said it was normal. Everything was normal. The baby was healthy. She was healthy. They were on track for a smooth delivery in 2 months. 2 months. The thought made her stomach flip. Ryan sat beside her, pulled her feet into his lap, started rubbing them without being asked. She closed her eyes and let herself relax. "Jason called," Ryan said after a minute. "He wants to throw you a shower." "A baby shower?" "That's generally what people throw when someone's having a baby." Ryan: "What? It's nice. People want to celebrate. People want to snoop and see how we're doing." "Maybe, but they also genuinely care. Jason's been asking about you constantly. So has Mitchell. Even Claire from accounting sent you that care package last month." Claire had sent organic prenatal vitamins and a onesie that said, "Future CEO." Megan had cried for 20 minutes. "Fine," she said. "He can throw the shower, but nothing huge, and no games." "I'll let him know. And you have to be there." "Wasn't planning on missing it." She opened her eyes. "You sure? Baby showers are usually just—" "I don't care. It's my kid too. I'm gonna be there." Something in her chest loosened. 6 months ago, she wouldn't have believed this was possible, that he'd show up, that he'd mean it. But he kept proving her wrong. "Okay," she said, "you can come to the shower. Generous of you." "I know, I'm very magnanimous." He laughed and kept rubbing her feet. She let her eyes drift closed again. The shower happened 3 weeks later. Jason went overboard, decorations everywhere, a ridiculous cake shaped like a stork, games despite Megan's explicit instructions. But when she walked in and saw the conference room at Ryan's office transformed, streamers, balloons, a table full of gifts wrapped in soft yellows and greens, she couldn't help but tear up. Damn hormones. "Surprise!" everyone shouted. It wasn't really a surprise. Jason had told her the date, but she appreciated the effort. Ryan stayed by her side the whole time, handed her tissues when she cried opening gifts, laughed at Jason's terrible jokes, thanked everyone for coming. When Mitchell gave a speech about family and priorities, and how proud he was of both of them, Megan saw Ryan's eyes get wet. After, when everyone had left, and it was just the two of them packing up gifts in the empty conference room, Megan leaned against the table. "That was nice," she said. "Yeah, it was. I can't believe how much stuff we have now. We don't even know what half of this does. We'll figure it out." He loaded another box into his arms. "We always do." She watched him carry it to the door. Solid, steady. "Here." "Ryan," he turned. "Thank you." "For what?" "For showing up. For all of it." His expression softened. "Always." The baby came 2 weeks early. Megan's water broke at 4 in the morning. She was in the kitchen getting water. Couldn't sleep. Back was killing her. The baby wouldn't stop kicking when she felt the pop and the warm rush down her legs. "Ryan!" He was up immediately. Years of early morning conference calls had trained him to wake up fast. He found her standing in the kitchen, frozen, staring down at the puddle on the floor. "Is that—" "Yeah. Okay." He was moving already, grabbing the hospital bag they'd packed 3 weeks ago, helping her change, getting her coat. "You're okay, everything's okay. We practiced this." "I know, but—" A contraction hit. She doubled over, gripping the counter. "Oh, God." "Breathe. Just breathe." "I am breathing." "Good. Keep doing that. I'm going to get the car." The drive to the hospital was a blur. Contractions every 5 minutes. Ryan holding her hand at every stoplight. The city still dark outside, streetlights reflecting off wet pavement from the rain that had started an hour ago. By the time they got to the hospital, Megan was in so much pain she couldn't think straight. The nurses took over immediately, got her into a room, checked her progress, 7 centimeters, moving fast. "You're doing great," the nurse said. Young, calm, like she'd done this 1,000 times. "Baby should be here in a few hours." "A few hours." Megan looked at Ryan. He was pale but present, standing right beside her bed. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I know. Me too." He kissed her forehead. "But we've got this. You've got this." She wanted to believe him. They'd chosen the name weeks ago. Emma, after Ryan's grandmother. Rose, because Megan had always loved the name. Emma Rose Whitaker. Emma Rose Whitaker was born at 9:47 a.m., 6 pounds, 8 ounces. Full head of dark hair, lungs that could wake the entire floor. They placed her on Megan's chest, this tiny, screaming, perfect thing, and the world stopped. Megan couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only stare at this baby, her baby, and try to process that this was real, that she was a mother now, that this little person had been inside her for 9 months and was now here, in her arms, looking up at her with dark blue eyes that would probably change color in a few weeks. "Hi," Megan whispered. Her voice broke. "Hi, baby girl." Emma's crying quieted. Her tiny fist wrapped around Megan's finger. "Oh my God," Megan said. "Ryan, look at her." Ryan was beside her, tears streaming down his face, staring at their daughter like she was the only thing in the world. "She's perfect," he said. "She's so perfect. You want to hold her? Can I?" The nurse helped transfer Emma into Ryan's arms. He held her like she was made of glass. This man who commanded boardrooms and made million-dollar decisions, now completely undone by 7 pounds of baby. "Hey, Emma," he said softly. "I'm your dad. I know we just met, but I already love you more than anything in the entire world." Megan watched them, her daughter, her partner, this family they'd somehow built from nothing, and felt something shift inside her. Not fear, not anxiety. Joy, pure, overwhelming, terrifying joy. They stayed in the hospital for 2 days. Ryan barely left her side, slept in the uncomfortable chair by her bed, changed diapers like he'd been doing it for years, even though his hands shook the first 3 times, ordered takeout from the diner in Logan Square at 2 a.m. because Megan was starving and the hospital food was terrible. "You don't have to stay," she said on the second night. "You should go home, sleep in an actual bed. I'm not leaving you." "Ryan." "I'm not leaving you," he repeated, firmer this time. "When we go home together, all 3 of us." So he stayed. When they finally got discharged, Ryan drove home so slowly that cars honked at him on Lakeshore Drive. Emma slept the entire way, strapped into the car seat they'd installed and reinstalled 4 times to make sure it was secure. The apartment felt different when they walked in. Quieter, fuller, like it had been waiting for Emma to arrive. Ryan set the car seat down gently in the living room. Emma was still sleeping, her tiny chest rising and falling, making little snuffling sounds. "Now what?" Megan whispered. "Now," Ryan wrapped his arm around her. "Now we figure it out. You keep saying that. Because it's true." They stood there for a long time, watching their daughter sleep, neither of them quite believing this was real. Megan. "Yeah? Thank you." She looked up at him. "For what?" "For this, for her, for giving me a chance when I didn't deserve one." His voice was rough. "For being brave enough to choose this, to choose us." Her throat tightened. "You made it pretty easy. I made it terrifying." "Yeah, but you also showed up, every time." He kissed her, soft, gentle, full of everything they'd built together over the last 9 months. When they pulled apart, Emma was awake, staring up at them with those dark blue eyes that would change. Everything would change, but this moment, would stay exactly as it was. Perfect. 3 months later, Megan stood in the kitchen of their apartment making coffee. Real coffee, with caffeine, because she'd stopped breastfeeding last week and could finally have the good stuff again. Emma was in her bouncer on the floor, cooing at the mobile Ryan had installed yesterday. He'd spent 2 hours on it, cursing at the instructions, determined to get it right. When Emma finally smiled at the spinning animals, he'd looked so proud. Megan had taken 17 pictures. The apartment was a mess, burp cloths on every surface, diapers in strategic locations, a bassinet in the bedroom because Emma still wasn't sleeping through the night. Megan's old organizational system had gone out the window around week 2 of parenthood, but it was their mess, their chaos, their life. Ryan came out of the bedroom, hair wet from the shower. Emma's spit up on his shoulder that he hadn't noticed yet. "You made coffee," he said. "I did." "You're amazing." "I know." He poured himself a cup, added too much cream like always, and leaned against the counter. Emma made a noise that might have been a laugh or might have been gas. They were still learning to tell the difference. "I was thinking," Ryan said. "About what?" "About us. About where we are now, versus where we were a year ago. Megan set down her mug. That's very philosophical for 7 in the morning. I'm serious. He moved closer. A year ago I was alone. Working too much, pretending I was fine, and now, he gestured around the apartment. Now I have this. You, Emma, a family. You getting sentimental on me, Whitaker? Maybe. He smiled. I'm allowed. I'm a dad now. That you are. He pulled her close. She went easily, wrapping her arms around him, careful not to jostle his coffee. I love you, he said. Both of you. More than I thought I could love anything. I love you too. She looked up at him. Even when you leave wet towels on the bathroom floor. I'm working on that. Sure you are. Emma started fussing. Megan pulled away, picked her up from the bouncer, settled her against her shoulder. The fussing stopped immediately. She just wanted attention, Ryan said. Don't we all? He laughed and kissed Emma's head, then Megan's. Outside, the city was waking up, traffic humming, people heading to work, life continuing like it always did. But in their apartment, in their little corner of Chicago, with coffee growing cold and a baby who didn't sleep and a mess they'd clean up eventually, everything was exactly as it should be. Megan looked at Ryan holding their daughter, looked at the life they'd built from fear and uncertainty and a choice to stop running, and she smiled. Because this, messy and chaotic and imperfect and real, this was home. The end. Love doesn't always arrive with a clear path. Sometimes it starts in the most unexpected places, in late nights at the office, in moments of vulnerability we weren't ready for, in choices that terrify us. But when two people decide to stop hiding from what scares them most, when they choose to build something real, despite all the reasons it shouldn't work, that's when love becomes more than just a feeling. It becomes a commitment, a daily choice, a home. Megan and Ryan's story reminds us that the best relationships aren't the ones that start perfectly. They're the ones where two imperfect people decide that showing up, being honest and choosing each other, even when it's hard, is worth everything. Have you ever had to make a choice between playing it safe and taking a risk on something, or someone, that scared you? What did you choose and how did it change your life? Your participation means a lot to the channel. Please share your thoughts in the comments. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more emotional journeys like Megan and Ryan's. Thank you for listening. Until next time.